thanks everyone for coming, and I particularly wanted to just thank the team for all the work that they have done on the plans and for the work to put this launch together today, and to North Yorkshire Police for hosting us, and also to the public for their responses to the consultation. We had over 1,600 responses to the consultation, which we closed a few months ago. I'm going to set out the details of the plans in a minute, but first, the Mayor is with us today, David Scaife, who was first elected last May. And a year ago, I was thinking about this at the weekend, a year ago, David and I were tromping the streets of York and North Yorkshire trying to win the election, and David's promise was around getting the region's future back, and it's now 11 months since that election, and ever since then he's been doing exactly that. So it's brilliant that he's with us this morning. I've been a really big advocate for devolution for a long time, and back in 2004 we called it localism, but it's basically about the same thing. It's about people in their place who really care about it, having more say and control over that place. 21 years on from talking about it in a pamphlet, I'm really, really delighted to be in the place that I grew up in and that I work in, working alongside our first directly elected Mayor, David Scaife. We both care passionately about our place and try and out-local each other regularly. David's from Harrogate, went to school there. I was born near Malton, went to school in York. David played county cricket though, and apparently that counts for something extra in the points score. Anyway, it's a huge privilege for both of us to be in this position and to be able to influence change in our place, in our region. We both care about it deeply, but it's also a huge responsibility, and we both want to make sure that we get it right. So we want to and need the partners in this room to work alongside us to help us do that, which we will talk about in the priorities that we're going to set out. Thanks to David, since the election last May, we've now got adult skills funding for the National Railway Museum, a High Street fund, and now a police and crime plan focused on our priorities for the next 4 years. So we hope that these plans will be another part of that work to rebuild our public services and make our communities safe for everyone. But I will hand over to David so that he can say a little bit more about his vision for our region and the work that's taken place so far. But thank you all for coming.
A rapturous applause there, please. Thank you everyone, and welcome here today. When I came into this role as Mayor last year, I saw no greater importance in this role than the responsibility of public safety. An opportunity to really bring the police and fire side of things into the combined authority side of things, and how we can have a dual approach to how we can combat some of the challenges we face right across the region. The police and crime plan sets out my priorities, expectations for North Yorkshire Police over the next 4 years. This is really the heart of what I want to deliver for safe places for all. This is a crucial part of delivering my vision for York and North Yorkshire and building the healthy, thriving communities that I've spoken about from the very beginning. I want to thank a lot of people actually, but particularly the public and the engagement, as Joe mentioned, the combined authority staff, particularly those in the OPFCC, who have delivered this after undergoing a significant organisational change themselves over the last year. Members of the Police Fire Crime Panel, Chief Constable Tim Forber and officers, staff at the North Yorkshire Police for their positive engagement and incredible work they've been doing over the last 12 months as well. My Deputy for Mayor for Police Fire Crime, Joe, who's been delivering the work and helping me to really organise myself and organise everything else in the last 12 months as well. I did put myself forward as Mayor, and I do have to occasionally do ask myself why I did this, but I really did put myself forward. Yes, I am incredibly proud to be from York and North Yorkshire first and foremost, but I think we have some really unique challenges in this patch, and having grown up here, having a older brother who's a police officer in the patch, a wife who was a teacher in a secondary school in our patch for 13 years. My mum was on a NHS waiting list for many years. I saw some real challenges across our patch, something that we have in York and North Yorkshire, but right across the country. And an opportunity to put yourself and in a position where you can actually make a difference, I think is once in a lifetime opportunity, and it's something that I'm incredibly passionate about and proud I get to do on a daily basis. One of the early events I was managed to attend and outings I went was the pleasure of joining Tim on a drugs bust, and I wasn't allowed to kick in the doors. I did ask, but I wasn't allowed to. And there was a young lady that was arrested on drug offences, and she was maybe in her mid-20s, and her mum had been arrested for the last 15, 20 years on similar offences. And having young children, I managed to have a little look around the flat where they were staying, and there was a room full of toys. And this young lady had a 5-year-old daughter. And I'm thinking, we've been arresting this mum for the last 15, 20 years. We're now arresting this lady. Are we going to be arresting this 5-year-old in 15 or 20 years? Or are we actually going to break that cycle and actually improve the environment that young person is going to grow up in? So we have an opportunity to really draw a line in the sand and say that's not good enough and we're not going to have that any longer. The challenges we face are incredibly difficult in our patch. I don't have to explain to anyone in this room. The geography of our region does make it incredibly challenging. From the outside, people see York and North Yorkshire as a leafy, green, prosperous place, and in large parts it is. We have real challenges and real pockets of very challenging deprivation hidden away underneath, and we have to really combat that, and we have to really show that we are working for the entire region and making the place safe for everyone who lives here. Under those pockets of deprivation as well, we obviously have levels of violence against women and girls, retail crime, antisocial behaviour, and cross-county lines work as well, which goes on in our patch. All areas that we must challenge and we must look to combat. The Police and Fire Crime Commission powers coming into the role of Mayor has given us opportunities and power to really change that, and not just look at how we do things from the policing side of things, but how the CA, with things like skills, with the housing we built, with the transport improvements that we can deliver, how we can combat those challenges right across the organisation. This plan is the first in North Yorkshire and allows us to pull these levers and actually opportunity to really look at how we do things differently. I came into this role with very clear that I would listen before I make decisions, and I've consulted the public and we've talked with residents, business owners right across our region, and this plan really does reflect that. I've set these priorities for change over the next 4 years, and I will expect North Yorkshire Police to focus on prevention and early intervention, ensuring we tackle the root causes of crime and intervene to prevent it before it happens. Protect the public, improving trust and confidence in police in our region, tackling antisocial behaviour, retail crime, and doing our bit locally to halve the rates of violence against women and girls, which are far too high. Working with partners to ensure a joined up approach to identifying and protecting the most vulnerable, and building stronger communities, prioritising proactive neighbourhood policing, partnerships and community engagement. I'll be working closely with my Deputy Joe Coles to monitor progress and ensure delivery on behalf of the public. I thank you for today, and I'll bring Joe back in. Thank you very much.
Thanks. So the police and crime plans, some of you will almost certainly know, are statutory documents and therefore a really important tool for David and I to make sure that we are holding the police to account effectively against the public's priorities. So it's brilliant that the Chief Constable, Tim Forber, is here to say a few words about what they're going to mean for the force. The Chief is the old-timer of the three of us because he's been in his role for an entire year, unlike David and I, who are still counting our time in months. But he does have 29 years, I think, of operational policing experience, including at South Yorkshire Police, Greater Manchester Police, West Yorkshire Police and the Met. And he has been leading our force here in North Yorkshire since last April. And I'm really pleased that he's here to say a few words about both the plans going forward, but also how crime has been reducing during the time that he's been in post over the last year. So welcome, Tim, and thanks for coming.
So you're right, yes, I have 29 years police service in June of this year. And in the time that I've been the Chief Constable over the last year, I've had the opportunity to travel the entire length and breadth of this county. I was counting the other day, I've done nearly 40,000 miles in my car this year, and I have genuinely seen the entire county from Whitby right across to High Bentham, and from the very north to the south of the county. I've seen the pockets of deprivation in the city and the coast. I've seen the challenges around rural crime. But one thing I can say, again, given the experience that the Deputy Mayor points out, is it's an absolute privilege to be responsible for policing in such a beautiful county. It is one of the safest counties in England and Wales. And it's continuing to get safer. Just to give you a sense of where we've come over the last year, and it's interesting today being the 31st of March, because as you say, it's almost exactly a year since I started. So all crime is down by 5.7% this year. That's 2,809 less victims of crime. Violence against women and girls down 6.8%, 705 less victims. Serious violence down 4.5%, 256 less people the victim of serious violence. Robbery is down 30% year on year. That's 60 less victims, 102 less instances of homes being burgled across the county, 123 less vehicles stolen. Antisocial behaviour across the county is down by nearly 15%. That's 789 less instances of antisocial behaviour. In the most recent British Crime Survey, North Yorkshire has the highest level of confidence of any police force in the country. That's something to be really proud of, but something to be cherished and make sure it stays that way. We now also have one of the highest charge rates of any police force in the country, and we've arrested 330 more people in the past 12 months than we did in the previous year. A really, really positive, proactive approach to policing the county that's delivering results for the communities that I serve and the officers and staff and volunteers of North Yorkshire Police serve every day. Policing in this country is different than it is in other parts of the world. Now, not just America, but if you look to the gendarmerie in France or the Carabinieri in Italy, they're a quasi-military force, they're an arm of the state, there to control citizens. That's not the British model of policing. We police with consent in this country. It's one of the reasons that we are largely the only unarmed police force in the world. If you're going to continue to police with consent, and that is at the forefront of everything that I do as Chief Constable every single day, there are a number of things that you have to ensure. Is firstly, that we act with integrity at all times, but also that we deal with the issues that matter most to local people. And I've been determined that North Yorkshire Police is seen as a police service that is on the side of the communities of York and North Yorkshire in everything that we do. So when we go out and we do Operation Tornado every month, which is a visible manifestation of that, the clear message that we give is tell the communities that we're on your side. That's really, really important. But the police and crime plan I view as almost the official version of that, because the Mayor is the elected representative of the people in this county, and the role of delivering a police and crime plan, outlining the public's priorities, is really, really important in terms of maintaining that principle of policing by consent. So I'm really grateful for the time that you've taken and the consultation that you've undertaken to identify those priorities. That will steer the activities of North Yorkshire Police over the forthcoming year. We will continue to act in the best interests of the public of this county to make sure that we continue to drive down crime, to make it a safer place for all. But we'll also make sure that we continue to work in partnership with the combined authority. And the point that the Mayor makes about that cycle of criminality is really, really important. As someone who, yes, I've been here for 12 months, but as I say, I've been a police officer for the best part of 3 decades. If you're going to break that cycle of offending, you have to not just deal with the crime that's in front of you today, which is the core role of the police. You've got to focus on early intervention. You've got to focus in on the families, the people, the places where early intervention can make a difference, because in the long term, what that delivers is a safer, more productive and more cohesive society, which is what we all want for the communities that we serve. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tim. I was just going to say a few words about the actual priorities in the plans, and then I think we're going to adjourn outside, and people can have a drink, and we can have a bit more of an informal chat about what they're going to mean for some of the organisations in the room. But as I said before, I'm really proud to have joined David and be part of delivering this police and crime plan for our region, for York and North Yorkshire. This time last year, I was working for the old shadow Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, who is now our actual Home Secretary, and we were preparing for what we thought was going to be an autumn general election. And I was spending my spare time, as I said before, kind of on the streets of York and North Yorkshire supporting someone who was then our mayoral candidate in his election campaign. And I was and still am a City of York councillor, represent the most deprived ward in the city, a role which I take huge pride in because it allows me to do what I believe in most, which is trying to make a difference for the people of our area. But in the last 9 months, that role has changed, and I've had that opportunity to work alongside David as his Deputy Mayor for Police, Fire and Crime, meeting some of the bravest and most dedicated public servants in our region, from the armed police officers and detectives and the control room teams, the Rural Crime Task Force, the brilliant neighbourhood teams of officers and PCSOs. We have some brilliant staff and police officers across our region who work really hard to keep our place safe every day. And as the Chief Constable said, our region is one of the safest places in the country. Crime levels are relatively low compared to other parts of the country, but there's a lot to do to make sure that we keep it that way, and also to ensure that we stay ahead of changing crime types or hidden harms and crimes where underreporting can be a risk to public confidence. And as the Chief said, policing by consent is at the heart of the policing model here in the UK, and therefore ensuring that we have that public confidence is really important. The full details of the consultation have been published, and I would like to thank the team who've worked on that process of processing all those responses that we had from the consultation and analysing the responses and then pulling the plan and the report together. And we really hit the road to do the consultation. I'm not sure I did 40,000 miles though, the Chief is definitely ahead of me on that, but we did cover a significant percentage of the road network in our region, covering ground, but also ensuring that we spoke to some of the groups who can be hard to reach. So younger people, ethnic minority groups, the business community, as well as the members of the public, the gypsy and traveller community, farming communities and in urban areas. So the team that supported that work did an incredible amount of work, and it was really important to me that we ensured that all areas and people in our region were included in that process. 1,600 people then shared their views, and it's their views that we have been reflecting in our plans. And the younger people, for example, who responded were concerned about the lack of facilities that were available to them, facilities that have been decimated over the last 15 years. Farmers were worried about rural crime and the impact on their businesses. Shop workers were exhausted by the injustices of retail crime. And I know that David, as a retailer, a former retailer, you're not currently doing that, are you? Is something that really matters to you, and it really matters to us to ensure that the businesses in our communities can feel like they are being heard and they are being supported. People are understandably most worried about the most serious crimes, so serious violence, sexual crimes and those involving children. But they were also really clear in their consultation that they wanted to see more visible policing. Balancing that need to ensure that we build and retain public confidence is also about making sure that we ensure that the most serious crimes, which might not be visible to the public, also receive the right attention and focus that they need because of the harm that they cause. So in terms of the priorities for the next 4 years, the first priority will be about focusing on early intervention and prevention. I worked with vulnerable young people in youth services between 2005 and 2010, and I know what difference a good youth service can have, what good youth provision can have, and how much additional support some young people need to be able to get on and do well in their lives. We're committed to delivering that in our communities. We need to get beyond that sticking plaster approach that we've had for too long so that we address the root causes of some of that crime. And that means getting some additional investment into early intervention and prevention through youth programmes, making sure that we put back some of that support for the next generation. I hope that by the end of this cycle of this police and crime plan, our efforts to increase early intervention and prevention will mean lower levels of antisocial behaviour, fewer victims of crime and fewer new entrants into the criminal justice system. The second priority is about protecting the public, which is about improving and retaining that trust and confidence in policing. People were really clear in their responses that they wanted to see more visible neighbourhood policing. The new government nationally has been clear around their expectations around neighbourhood policing, with a national pledge to transform neighbourhood policing with 13,000 new police officers, PCSOs and specials. And David and I are committed to doing our bit to deliver that. Here in York and North Yorkshire this year already, we have an additional £1.9 million of investment for neighbourhood policing, and that's about delivering our part of that pledge for 13,000 police and PCSOs. And in our region now, there are already now ads running for new neighbourhood police and PCSOs on the North Yorkshire Police website, which I was absolutely delighted to see, because that feels like that is delivery of a core government pledge and that additional money making a difference for people in our region. It's also about ensuring that victims of crime receive the support that they need to cope and recover, building on the services that we already have in our region, but also doing more to encourage those who maybe aren't reporting crime to come forward when things happen to them. It is about rebuilding confidence so that everyone in our communities feels safe. The third priority is around working with partners. Crime doesn't just happen, and it isn't just a matter for the police, as the Chief alluded to just now. If we're really serious about delivering on early intervention and prevention, we need to recognise that we need to work in partnership with other groups and organisations. We're not going to reduce the levels of violence against women and girls on our own. We need to make sure that we work with the voluntary and community sector, with the other blue light services, with the NHS, with local authorities, businesses, schools. They're all part of this journey that we need to do together. We know that we have real challenges in the criminal justice system, and that also means we've got real problems in our mental health services. All of those things are affecting our young people in particular, but actually are affecting an awful lot of people that the police have to deal with day in, day out. So we're committed to increasing the levels of partnership working, harnessing the opportunities that we have from devolution, convening partners together and using the powers of devolution and the combined authority to work together towards some shared objectives around violence against women and girls, retail crime, rural crime. And the final priority is about strong communities, which is something that is at the heart of the Mayor's vision for our region for the next 4 years. So ensuring that wherever you are and wherever you live in our region, you have the confidence in the police and feel safe. And thanks to the commissioning team, which is there's a whole detail of our commissioning commitments set out in the police and crime plan, but there are loads of services already in place around violence against women and girls and serious violence, for example. Those priorities and those commissioned pieces of work are going to be key to being able to deliver strong communities going forward. Last week I was with members of the Rural Task Force looking at how harnessing the local intelligence that our neighbourhood policing and rural task force would gather, how the police can then take on and apprehend organised criminal gangs, whether those organised gangs are operating in our region, whether they're over the borders, in neighbouring counties, or actually whether they're operating overseas. That having that bedrock of intelligence coming out of our rural task force or our neighbourhood policing is really important to being able to deal with some of those incredibly serious challenges, but also to deliver those strong communities. So it's all good and well, we've got a plan, but I just thought I'd also just end on a bit of information about how we'll know whether or not it's working. So we want to make sure we've more than doubled our levels of early intervention and prevention. We will have contributed our part to the national target of 13,000 more neighbourhood police, PCSOs and specials, and we'll have done much more to rebuild the confidence of victims of crime to come forward, especially around violence against women and girls. The new Sexual Assault Referral Centre opened a few weeks ago. Thank you to Sarah for all of her work in pulling that together and making that happen. That is a really important part of rebuilding confidence in the victims of some of the most serious crimes, rape and serious sexual assault, not only to come forward and make sure that they capture their evidence, but also to make sure that they're seeking the support that they need to cope and recover. Also, that new centre, which is on the outskirts of York, will mean that we are now in a position we're one of the best forces in the country in terms of those facilities to maximise the chances of successful prosecution in those cases, but also to make sure that those victims of crime, regardless of whether or not they pursue a criminal prosecution, are able to access the support that they need to cope and recover and move on in their lives. I'm looking forward to working more closely with everyone in this room and beyond, harnessing those opportunities from devolution and the wider work that the Mayor is going to be delivering to keep communities safe. The work and engagement with the public doesn't just stop because we've published the plans. We need to make sure that we're staying on track and that we get feedback on our plans as part of the work and the reporting that will take place. I want to know if something's working or not working and what else we need to do to improve. And it's also important for me that we're spending public money well and that we're spending public money on the priorities that we're setting out in these plans. I look forward to working with you all over the next 4 years. We all want, as the Chief and David have said, we all want our region to be safer for everyone who lives, works or visits us here, and these plans will hopefully give us an opportunity to do that. So we need to now get on and crack on with the work. But thank you all for coming, and I think we're going to adjourn and have a more informal chat outside over a hot drink. But thank you all for coming.